1885. They were partitioning the land called Al-Kebulan land, which later became Africa. They were partitioning. This person will come and say, this is my own. This person will say, this is my own. And they were doing that. But prior to that time, the Portuguese people, they visited Nigeria. That was in 1450. And in 1477, Benin became a colony of Portuguese. They were speaking Portuguese language and going to school in Benin City. They were speaking Portuguese. But the first British people came in here in 1886. And that was 2 years after partitioning. They came in here, they've taken this part of the district. But then, we don't have a country called Nigeria. They were seizing places and calling it colony. And Benin Kingdom, Lagos colony, then the Northern and the Southern Protectorate. Then in 1892, Lord Lugard came. And when he came to Nigeria, there was some other issues. It continued like that until 1914, when the North and the Southern Protectorate were united, which we call amalgamation. Mm-hmm. United then, and it became an entity. And it continued like that. We started having...
Who united them? How did they come together?
It was Lord Lugard.
Oh, okay.
And he became the first Governor General. And he came in and united the whole distance. And when he left, we started having different Clifford, Constitution, Macpherson,
before we get to the Constitution, were there any form of agreements that was put in place why they were getting united? That's the Northern and the Southern Protectorate.
Yes, there were some people who were there, some traditional rulers, some elites were there that asked for this. They asked the United States, and this happened in Lokoja. And at a mountain in Lokoja called Mount Patti, that was where Lord Lugard and his later to be wife Florence Shaw and united and gave the name Nigeria. That was where this thing came. So it continued like that until 1960. Nigeria became independent. After Nigerian independence, Nigeria became a country with Tafawa Balewa as the Prime Minister and Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe as the Governor General, which means that the Queen of England was still the head of state of Nigeria until 1963, 1st October, when Zig became the president. That means Nigeria became a republic. They are now on their own. We are no more under the British rule. It continued like that. Then there was some crisis in the West. The crisis became what we call treasonable felony, where Chief Obafemi Awolowo and some of his political highlights were, tried and jailed. And that brought a lot of shaking, a lot of problem. And that is where we have this wild, wild West. But it continued until 1966, July 29th, when some 21 army officers, because people will always tell you 5 majors. It's not 5 majors. There were 21 officers from the Connaught. Somebody like General Gibson Jallo were involved. Egara. So it's not Igbo coup. It shows that it was a combined coup and against what the civilian did at that particular time. So there was military disruption.
When was that?
1966, July 29th. 1966, January 15, 1966, there was coup. And what really caused the problem at that time was that the coup was seen to be one-sided because the premier of the northern Nigeria was killed in person of Ahmadu Bello. Then Akintola was killed in the west. Nnamdi Azikiwe had left Nigeria at that particular time for medical check over there in the UK or in the US. He wasn't in the country. But when the coup plotters went to Enugu government house to kill the premier, who happened to be Opara, he found out that the Archbishop Macarius of Cyprus was there. And you can't go and kill a foreign destiny. It will bring a diplomatic row. So he was spared. So it now looks as if the Igbos spared their own. But if Arjuna went ahead to kill a very fine army officer and the only northern light they had in the army, who happened to be Brigadier Mai Malari, they killed him, he killed him there. But while these things were going on, Aguiyi-Ironsi interrupted, who was the most senior army officer. At that particular time, Nigeria had 4,500 soldiers. And they came, yes, that was the population. Then they have Navy, but no Air Force. It was 1968-69 that Air Force emerged from the Army. And that is why today the #1 force in Nigeria is the Army, in the armed forces, because they were the force. They are indigenous, that's why I said the Nigerian Army. We don't have Nigerian police, we have Nigeria police. Why do we have Nigeria police? Because different colonies have their own police force. So they were not Nigerianized, so to say. They have their own distinct. So they now join them together and they call them Nigeria Police. Up to today, what you see is NPF, Nigeria Police Force, not Nigerian, because they were not indigenized. The Army was indigenized, Navy was indigenized, Air Force was indigenized. That's why you see Nigerian Air Force, Nigerian Army, Nigerian Navy, but it's not so with the police force, because different constabularies, areas brought their own, and they were coming in that form until at a certain time when Kam Salem became the first Inspector General of Police of Nigeria. It happened like that. So during this coup, now the North felt bad, so there was a counter coup on the 29th of July in Ibadan, where Ironsi went on visiting. So they now felt it was Igbo coup. But at that particular time, Ironsi has formed, we had 4 regions, has formed its own regional governors. Lieutenant Colonel Chukwuemeka Odumegwu Ojukwu was that of the East, the military governor of the Eastern region. Lieutenant Colonel Adekunle Fajuyi was that of the West. Major Hassan Kastina was that of the North. And that was that coup. And what happened was Aguiyi-Ironsi was killed.
In Ibadan?
In Ibadan. Then his host, who was Adekunle Fajuyi, said, no, I can't. It will bring a lot of problem between the Yorubas and the Igbos. He insisted and he was killed alongside with all these people. So now, Ironsi was a major general, the first and #2 man in the army. The first senior officer we had in Nigeria was Bassi, Welton Bassi, NA1. Aguiyi-Ironsi was NA2, Nigerian Army. Sode was NA3. Ademolegun was NA4. Mai Malari was NA5. They were just like that with no seniorities in the army at that particular time. So it was just like that. So now, Brigadier Ogundipe was the Chief of Staff Supreme Headquarters, which means he's second to Aguiyi-Ironsi. General Gowon was Lieutenant Colonel and he was the Chief of Army Staff. So, but when this coup happened and he died, Aguiyi-Ironsi died, naturally the person that is supposed to take over was Ogundipe. Brigadier Ogundipe was to take over. Then we used to have Brigadier, not Brigadier General. It was later we started having Brigadier General like the US. What we used to have is Brigadier, the Major General. So now, that became a problem. Ojukwu said Jack, because Gowon was known as Jack, Dan Yuma. That is his name. His name was Yakubu Jack Dan Yuma Gowon. Okay. So himself and Ojukwu, they knew themselves in Sandhurst. Ojukwu said no. So that people will now understand what led to the Civil War. Ojukwu said no. The most senior army officer is Ogundipe. But Ogundipe gave an instruction and the northern sergeant disrupted that instruction. So Ogundipe had to leave the country for his life and left. So he was made Nigerian High Commissioner in London. And he stayed there till he died. Gowon became the head of state.
Was Gowon next to Ogundipe?
Yes, Gowon was the chief of army staff, yes.
Okay.
So now Ojukwu and his own distant, then they started what we call pogrom, killing of the Igbos in the north, and so on. So they started asking the Igbos to start coming back home. Igbos started coming back home. It's unfortunate that anywhere there have been problems, in 1955, the Igbos also suffered the same fate in Nigeria.
Okay.
So it has continued like that.
Okay.
So I think I will stop here.
Stop there, yes, so that we'll be able to align to what we have on in our tables this morning, which is the independence. Okay, so that is where the army intervened and disrupted the first democracy that we had. So, Mr. Ezofoma, let us start from where the second civilian government, came in.
Yes, I thank you and thank my co-analyst for having given us the historical background. Now, as a political scientist, I'm more interested in the development, after the emergence of the nation or state Nigeria, and the political developments. From the Second Republic, having suffered the Civil War, it ended in 1970. And after the military rule for some years, later in 1979, we had our Second Republic. And Shehu Shagari was the president. Ekwueme was the vice, and so on and so forth. So from there, but it is worthy to note that most Nigerian leaders have not learned lesson. Just as my co-analyst said, if you watch what brought the coup, the military intervention, it was the messing up of the system by the political gladiators. Because the people who organized the coup, the young majors and the young army officers, we are not satisfied with how, if we had time to go into details of what was happening, ethnicity, favoritism, nepotism, and so on and so forth. 10%. And that is the point. Corruption everywhere. So the army, I'm sure that those guys who organized those things, if they were to live to, they do not army people, they would prefer to die instead of to see things happening, because even Ojukwu and some of them were saying, they swore to an oath to defend the nation. And so those young army people, so it's unfortunate that after the Second Republic, the Third Republic, the Fourth Republic, the Nigerian leaders, political gladiators, are going back to the genesis, to the main problem that brought about military intervention. If not that they have caged our army, and our army says our army has sworn not to intervene again in political administration. They would have, yes.
They swear to God?
No.
Okay, let's leave them out of this place because I know that despite the challenges Nigeria has made significant progress in various sectors. Including so many of them, we can bring it down. So let's look at democratic reforms and progress of Nigeria. That's what we are cut out for this morning. Let's look at that. Forget about what happened with the military or whatever. Let's look at democracy as it stands today. So what is the progress? What are the reforms and the progress we have made since 1960 to this period? That's what we would like to look at.
That's why I will summarize it that we are going one step forward, two steps backwards.
Okay.
That's the point. That's where I was driving at. Because nobody will deny that we have made certain progress. Because you can see we have a third rose, we have this and that. But the point is, if you equate it with the resources brought in, We know 1973 first tag, when Gowon was saying that our problem is not about money, but how to spend the money, because money was flowing. You know, my friend, the Professor Enoch, told me that when they were going to France, because he was a French professor in French language, so he said when they went outside during that time, that Nigerian citizens are being admired. Women will be following you to get your currency.
So it's part of your progress.
That is the point. Yes, no.
Women admire Nigerian men.
No, look at the point. The point is our currency then was higher than dollar.
Okay, I see.
So that's the point. So, but these people, these leaders missed the system. So we are moving at slow snail speed. One step forward and two steps backwards. Let me summarize it that way.
Okay, no problems. Before we continue, let's take a break and talk to some people on the streets. Let's see how they look at Nigeria at 64. And when we come back, we'll continue from where we stop. I hate this language. Continue from where we stop. Okay. When we come back, we'll continue.
Nigeria is a great country, and all this while we have been having ups and downs. So far, so good. The problem of Nigeria is leadership. So we haven't got it right in the area of leadership. So first and foremost, we must get it right in the area of leadership. When we get it right, other things will follow. So when we get it right in terms of leadership, the economy will improve, everything, infrastructure, corruption will stop. Corruption have gone deep, as in have shattered Nigeria, the fabrics, the foundation of Nigeria. So when we got it right in this aspect, so in summary, the aspect where we need as in help most is what? In the area of leadership.
We need to develop in many areas in Nigeria. 64 years is not a joke. But if you look at the situation of things, you will discover that we are still leaping. It's very unfortunate. We have to refer all this to very bad leadership. That's what we attribute to all these problems. So if you are talking about a country that is almost 64, getting to 64 years, and nothing is happening, you look at the situation, when you look at the indices on the ground, you will discover that nothing is actually happening. The economic hardship is biting seriously in Nigeria today. So there's nothing to write home about. But the only thing is that we have to continue to thank Almighty God for keeping us alive to be in Nigeria and see what is happening. That's the only joy of it, being alive.
Things is becoming worse and worse every day in this country. Nigerians are suffering outside there because of the impact of poor leadership in Nigeria. We are being intimidated, discriminated, and all sorts of calling us names. It's not a good omen at all because of our leaders. The problem this country has is our leaders. Don't see why one person will have a whole lot. Why the citizens, even as a leader, you see your citizens suffering. They are suffering, crying, but you're packing money, transferring it overseas.
They have nothing to do with our youth. So I want government to put more eyes, more effort on youth. You know, youth, according to them, youth are the leaders of tomorrow. But you can be assured that since 1970 something, the same people are ruling. So they have nothing to do with youth again. So if our leaders will go back to youth to harness their potential from the beginning, I believe Nigeria will be better.
Okay, welcome back. We're still looking at Nigeria at 64. Apologies for that mix up there, please. Okay, welcome. I still have Johnny Fijika in the house and Simon Isaac of Form. One for form. Okay, I want to keep one and take one at a time. Okay, welcome. And let's continue. I said that's what we want to look at today is the progress we have been able to make as a nation. Okay, politically, economically, and otherwise. I'm coming to you, John Ifejika. How have we fared for 64 years now?
Oh, yes. In spite of what happened, we have fared well. Well, in the sense that I remember that when we started, we had the first university we had in Nigeria was University of Nigeria in Nsukka. Ibadan was a university college, which means they were getting their degree from London. And at the time, then we had the University of Benin. But today we have close to 300 universities in Nigeria. In terms of education, Nigeria, we've done a lot. In terms of people that have graduated, we have produced more medical doctors, both at home and in diaspora. We have more engineers and so on. We all know about Meagwali. We all know about the Northern man who designed Chevrolet and so on. A lot of Nigerians, a lot of things had happened. Gowon created Nigeria from those 4 regions to 12 states in order for things to work out fine. Later, Nigeria came to 29 states, then later to 36 states we have now. So this has really helped governance. It has really made things to be. In spite of what happened, God has blessed this country. Leadership has been our problem. And the politicians are the people who cause the problem, helping the military, because the military disorganized this nation. In those good days, it doesn't matter
how long were the military in power?
Where
how
you
long?
come from.
How many years?
Tribalism came in. Now, tribalism came in. And there wasn't tribalism when I was growing up. I see you as my own sister because you live on my own street.
Was it the military that brought in tribalism?
Yes, they came in. When they came, they started marginalization. They did that. When they were creating certain things, they made some palaces of some of the kings as local government headquarters. Yes, to fund those people, to fund their own. So it came in like that. Then the politicians came and, problem started. The political class don't care. And then there was squandermania came into this country. That's the problem. The problem of this country is squandermania, where when they begin to squander money, they don't ask of your religion. They don't ask of your church. They don't ask of your tribe. They become one and they squander the money. Then leaving the poor people. The fisherman in Ijaw land and the herdsman in the north and the farmer in the east, they don't have anything against each other. But it's the political class, once they outsmart each other, they begin to tell their followers that you are being marginalized. And we begin to shout marginalization. But the time they shared money, the time they will share 162 million naira car, they will not tell us it's marginalization. It's when they've been outsmarted, they carry us along and say we are being marginalized. So that's the problem Nigeria has today. All we need today is somebody that will come and do what? Reconcile Nigeria and make sure Nigeria becomes one entity. Okay. And that person must be somebody who has no mother, no father, no tribe. That's the only person that can make Nigeria one. Because if today you become the president of Nigeria, your people will come and tell you that it's now our turn. They will tell you, Emiloko, it's now your turn, our own turn.
Okay, let's look at the political development like you mentioned as a former. Let's look at the political development of Nigeria, how we started, where we are. I know we started with maybe 2 political parties and then it got to 3 and kept rolling until we are here. I can't even count how many political parties we have now. And then how have we fared? What are we better off with? Is it this or that? Okay, because we, at a stage like this, we don't even know where our problems are coming from.
Yes, thank you very much for that question. Now, as you said, we started growing in different areas, also in political area. Now, initially, if you watch, during the Second Republic, Nnamdi Azikiwe was the leader of MPP. Yes. And if you watch, you will see, just to corroborate what my friend said, that our leadership is our problem. And they started corrupting every area, like political arena. Now, Nnamdi won in Anambra State, Imo State, and the Plateau State. To show you that that time, it seems as if as we are moving, we are getting worse. That's just like the commentator said. Now, if you look at Shagare and even Awolowo, the Ekwueme was the vice president from this side. And even though Shagare had most of the distance from the north, but yet he formed the alliance with Nnamdi Azikiwe in that second accord, with that to have a good governance, and they were moving. But if you watch these days, you will see that we have almost 80-something, 70-something political parties, and some of them are just tribalized. Some of them will only exist in one area. There will be no national outlook. That will show you how we are moving backward. That's why I said, instead of, yes, we have developments in different areas. Our people have the ingenuity, they have the resourcefulness. But for the leaders to organize, to harmonize these things, and let us have positive development, that is where the problem lies. Because they will, just as my colleague said, they will use one thing or the other to divide the people. They are using divide and rule. So when it favors them, they will agree. But when it doesn't favor them, they will divide the minds of the people. The gullible will believe them, and we continue to have our problems. So that is the point. We have so many political parties today. But if you look at them, you will see that it is either a crop of corrupt leaders who will come together, like we are having APC now. We had PDP. They messed up the system. Then the APC people, you see the people who formed PDP jumping into APC, not because of the objective, not because of the ideology of the party, but because they want to earn from the center. They want to amass wealth. That's the problem we are having. There is no ideological this thing in the political formation. There is no objectivity in the political pursuit. It is only to amass the wealth of the nation. That is why the senators, the National Assembly, can afford to allocate to themselves a car of 160 million for one person. Why people are in abject poverty? So let me stop so far.
Okay, thank you very much. It's not all bad. I know we started good, we are rolling very good, and then until we got to where we are, even where we are now, there are still some pockets of goodness in Nigeria that we can talk about. Okay, because I know that despite the challenges Nigeria has met, that Nigerians are having, we have made significant progress in so many areas of life. Like I know that Nigeria used to be the biggest economy in Africa, the largest economy in Africa. So what happened? How did we miss it? Where did we miss it? I also know that in technology that we have done very well for ourselves. In arts and culture, Nollywood, music, sports, we used to rule Africa in sports and a whole lot of things. So it's not all bad. But the question is, where did we miss it? And what must we do to get back to status quo? Ifejika.
Yeah, we are still the best. When you talk of Nollywood, we are still the best because I know there's a time I traveled to Trinidad and Tobago. And the hotel where I was, the first thing I saw was the Nollywood. Seeing Mama G and Bob Manuel Udoku and so on. These are the things, it's an industry. But it takes the will for somebody to help develop all these things. Some countries have made it, they don't have oil. Our problem in this country was when we discovered oil and we left palm oil Today, Malaysia is the world's highest producer of palm oil. And they came to eastern Nigeria to collect the seedlings of palm. Can you believe that? Can you beat that? They came to eastern Nigeria here to collect the palm seedlings, and which they now use and did so many things, and today they are the world's largest producer of palm oil. And they have even invented it using palm oil to get petroleum, but they found out that it was very expensive in terms of commercial quantity. And see what they have done, the ingenuity. We have all these things, we have people, but the fact is that we are yet to have a government that will say, let us go on this and develop the brains we have. You talk of surgeon, we have the best in the world. You talk of professors, we have them. But it's for the country to now call them and said, don't forget, first I have to congratulate Nigeria. Nigeria has had their first satellite and second satellite in the space. They had it during the time of Obasanjo. They developed that, Sat-1 and Sat-2. Nigeria has done that, Nigeria has developed. Nigerian army that started little, today Nigeria, after Egypt and Libya, Nigeria, the old Libya, not present Libya, Nigeria has the second largest military armament in the whole of Africa in terms of that. So Nigeria, they've gone to many places, many countries for peacekeeping, and they've done a lot. And when they went to Namibia, what we call the UNTAG, United Nations Transitional Assistance Group in Namibia, Nigeria police was adjudged the best, and they were the best at that particular time. So these are the things we have. People in Africa know we have this. Okay. Economy is still there. We are still contesting with South Africa in terms of the largest economy. But the problem is that you won't say you are the largest economy outside, whereas inside the people are feeling the pinch. That's the truth of the matter. Okay. The fact is that the currency of Nigeria begin to dwindle, and that is what costs everything, because everything we have is being imported. If we begin to manufacture here, can you imagine the petroleum products that we have? With the product of petroleum is becoming even the local refinery that has been there, Nigeria refused to put in order the other 3 or 4 refineries and let there be competition. That's what we are saying. Okay,
do we still have hope that this nation will go forward?
Yes, this nation...
Okay, if we do, what must we do to ensure that? Let's look for solution because we're rounding off.
Yes, that will make us go forward is by the time we are going for election, we should throw away religion, we should throw away tribalism, and vote for somebody that will make Nigeria great again. That's where we are going to.
Okay, fine. As a former, what must we do to keep Nigeria on track again?
Yes, to follow up to what he said, we must have leaders who are selfless, not self-centered, not people who will amass wealth for their unborn generation. People who will love Nigeria, who will have that objective, that aim of the founding fathers. Who I'm sure that those people who champion the cause of Nigeria, like Nnamdi, when they built University of Nigeria, Nsukka, and we are having the hope of a future Nigeria when they made the motto for education, to restore the dignity of man because of what they suffered at the hands of the white people. So that's the point. If we have such leaders who have the hope for Nigeria, who are selfless, then we will rise. We have people, but somebody must harmonize the potentials.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, gentlemen. But let's live with this quote of our founding fathers, so that we see reason to start again, reason to rebuild, reason to even want to be together as a nation. The first one is from Nnamdi, where he said, we must build a nation, not just a collection of tribes. Talking about the problem we have when we divide ourselves along tribal lines. And then unity is our strength, division is our weakness. This is coming from Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa. And in conclusion, let's reflect on Nigeria's journey and look forward to a brighter future. I think that's the only thing. The only thing that is keeping man on earth is hope. That as a young man, tomorrow you become a father. As a young woman, tomorrow you become a mother. And then you keep growing. That hope of, I am going to be what I am looking forward to be in future. That's what's keeping us alive. So let's have it so that we'll move this nation forward. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. John Ifejika, thank you.
Thank you. Happy Independence. It's my pleasure.
Okay, and thank you, Simon Eze Ofom.
Thank you very much. It's always my pleasure
to be with us.
To join, to aspire to make this nation a better place.
Thank you. My name is Sijama Uche. Happy Independence again.